the key to unlocking Iraq's future, the decision that will anoint its next prime minister and shape the destiny of its 45 million citizens, won't be made in the government palaces of Baghdad. It'll be made 350 kilometers to the north, in Arbil, the ancient, thriving capital of the semi-autonomous Kurdistan region. This is the story of how around 56 Kurdish members of parliament have become the unlikely kingmakers of Iraqi politics, and how this golden opportunity to secure their future might be the very thing that tears them apart.
To get why all roads lead to Erbil, you first have to understand the impossible math in Baghdad. The 2025 Iraqi federal election was seen as a hopeful sign that Iraqis still want a functional government that can deliver security and prosperity. Yet the result they delivered was a perfect picture of a fractured nation. In the 329-seat Council of Representatives, no single party got anywhere close to a majority. The Shiite parties collectively hold about 187 seats, but they are a divided family embroiled in bitter rivalries, Sudani versus Maliki and Iranian-backed factions, which has created an immediate deadlock. The Sunni parties are fragmented and weakened, and the Taqadum party, led by al-Halbusi, is the largest Sunni force with 33 seats, but it is also looking for partners. This is the chronic condition of Iraqi politics. Power isn't really won at the ballot box, it's assembled afterward, through a painstaking process of horse trading. The system, known informally as muhassasa, dictates that the country's top jobs are split among its main groups. The Speaker of Parliament is always a Sunni Arab. The Prime Minister is always a Shia Arab. And the President, a largely ceremonial but symbolically crucial role, is always a Kurd. To form a government, a prime minister designate needs the support of at least 165 members of parliament. While the Shiite coordination framework claims it has the numbers, forming a government without broad support is a recipe for a weak and unstable administration. Every faction in Baghdad has run the numbers, and they all arrive at the same conclusion. For a stable and legitimate government, they need a major partner. And as they look at the parliamentary map, one bloc stands out, holding the seats that can turn a fragile government into a functional one: the Kurdish bloc.
With Baghdad's politicians struggling to build a stable coalition, the center of political gravity has shifted north. It now rests in the Kurdistan region, an autonomous mountainous territory that the Kurds have called home for millennia. On paper, this region is part of Iraq. In reality, it has its own government, its own parliament, its own security forces, the Peshmerga, and its own flag. And after the 2025 election, it holds the kingmaker role in federal politics. Combined, the Kurdish parties hold around 56 seats in the Iraqi parliament. In an assembly this divided, that many votes isn't just a number, it's a political nuke. It is the power to make or break any aspiring government. While a government could technically be formed without them, it would lack legitimacy and stability, making the Kurds essential partners. This reality has turned the Kurdish leadership from regional players into national power brokers, and their capital, Erbil, into the most important political city in Iraq. Suddenly, the flights from Baghdad to Erbil are full of Shia and Sunni politicians, each carrying a briefcase full of promises. They come to court the Kurds, to win their favor, to secure their block of votes. They're forced to negotiate on Kurdish turf, in the shadow of the ancient Erbil citadel, a place that has seen empires rise and fall for over 6,000 years. The irony is thick. For decades, Baghdad has tried to control and contain the Kurds. Now, to govern effectively, that same central government must seek legitimacy in the Kurdish capital. This gives the Kurds leverage they haven't seen in a generation. It's a historic opportunity to finally settle the issues that have plagued their relationship with Baghdad for a century.
The Kurdish leadership isn't giving away its support for free. Their price is high, born from a century of struggle and a deep desire for self-determination. Their demands aren't just for cabinet posts. They aim to fundamentally change the relationship between Erbil and Baghdad, from one of subordination to one of a genuine partnership. At the top of their list, the budget. For years, the Kurdistan region has been entitled to a share of the federal budget in exchange for its oil exports. But the deal has been a constant source of conflict. Baghdad has often used its control of the national treasury as a political weapon, cutting off funds to punish the regional government. What the Kurds want now is a permanent, legally binding mechanism that guarantees their budget share and can't be undone by the whim of a future prime minister. They want to de-weaponize the budget, period. Next is the explosive issue of oil and gas. The Kurdistan region sits on vast reserves, but who gets to develop and export them has been the subject of a bitter, decade-long war. Erbil argues its constitutional autonomy gives it the right to manage its own resources. Baghdad insists all oil revenue must go through the central government. What the Kurds want now is a permanent, legally binding mechanism that guarantees their budget share and can't be undone by the whim of a future prime minister. Then there's the question of land, specifically the disputed territories. These are areas with mixed populations along the border of the Kurdistan region, most notably the oil-rich province of Kirkuk. The Iraqi Constitution's Article 140 laid out a process to decide their fate back in 2005: normalization, a census, and a referendum. That article was never implemented, and Kirkuk remains a dangerous flashpoint. The Kurds are demanding a concrete timeline for its full implementation. Finally, and perhaps most ambitiously, the Kurdish leadership wants to activate a forgotten clause of the Iraqi constitution. Article 65 calls for the creation of a federal council, a second chamber of parliament, an upper house like the U.S. Senate, where regions would be represented. For the Kurds, this is the ultimate prize. It would institutionalize their rights at the federal level, giving them a permanent check on the power of the majority. This is their moment, and these are their demands. But there's a giant complication, one that comes not from Baghdad, but from within.
The greatest obstacle to Kurdish success isn't the stubbornness of Arab politicians in Baghdad. It's the deep, bitter rivalry that divides the Kurds themselves. To the outside world, the Kurdish bloc looks like a unified front. In reality, it's a fragile alliance of two competing political dynasties: the Kurdistan Democratic Party, KDP, and the Patriotic Union of Kurdistan, PUK.
The KDP, led by the powerful Barzani family, has its heartland in Erbil and Duhok. They present themselves as the primary guardians of Kurdish nationalism, often taking a more confrontational stance against Baghdad. They currently hold the regional presidency and premiership, and with around 27 seats in the federal parliament, are the larger of the two parties. The PUK, founded by the late Jalal Talabani and now led by his family, dominates the province of Sulaymaniyah. The PUK has traditionally styled itself as more pragmatic, often favoring diplomacy with both Baghdad and neighboring Iran. While smaller, with about 18 federal seats, they hold a crucial trump card. The federal presidency is a Kurdish position, and since 2005 it has always been held by a PUK member. This rivalry isn't just politics, it's a feud that goes back decades. In the mid-1990s, it exploded into a brutal civil war that splits the Kurdistan region in two. The scars have never fully healed. The two parties still maintain separate military units, intelligence services, and economic networks. This division has been expertly exploited for years. Whenever the Kurds appear too unified in Baghdad, Shia and Sunni leaders use a classic divide-and-rule strategy, offering a better deal to one party to peel it away from the other. This is the great Kurdish paradox. They hold the keys to the kingdom, but they can't agree on which door to open. The 2025 election gave them immense leverage, but that leverage is only real if the bloc acts as one. If they can put their baggage aside, they could achieve a historic victory. But if they fall into old habits, they'll walk away with symbolic prizes while their main goals remain unresolved. Their greatest enemy isn't in Baghdad, it's in the mirror.
This internal Kurdish dynamic is what makes Erbil the true center of the government formation process. The negotiation isn't just between Arabs and Kurds. It's a three-dimensional chess game where rival Shia and Sunni blocs from Baghdad come to Kurdistan to negotiate not only with the Kurds, but against each other, using the KDP-PUK rivalry as the battlefield. Imagine the scene. Leaders from the Shia Coordination Framework, a powerful coalition with close ties to Iran, arrive in Erbil. They need the Kurds for a stable government. They sit down with the KDP and offer a generous deal on the budget. But they know the KDP is wary of Iran's influence. So, on the same day, they quietly send another envoy to Sulaymaniyah, the PUK's stronghold. There, they offer the Talabani family a different deal: unwavering support for their candidate for Iraqi president in exchange for flexibility on other issues. At the same time, Sunni leaders are flying into Erbil pitching a strategic partnership with the Barzanis to counterbalance Shia dominance. They promise to support the Kurds on constitutional reforms and champion their cause on disputed territories, all to weaken any potential Shia-Kurdish alliance. This is why the next government is decided in Erbil. It's not a simple transaction. It's a complex process where the future governing coalition of Iraq is hammered out in the meeting rooms of the KDP and PUK. The central question for the Baghdad delegations is not what do the Kurds want, but rather can we split them? And the central question for the Kurds is can we stay united? The outcome of the internal negotiation between the KDP and the PUK will determine the shape of the external negotiation with Baghdad.
If they agree on a single list of demands before meeting the Arab parties, their hand is immensely strengthened. If they remain divided, they invite their negotiating partners to play them off against one another. Every politician in Iraq knows this. The fate of the government hinges on whether the Kurdish MPs will vote as a single, unbreakable bloc, or as two rival factions competing for scraps from the tables of power.
The 2025 election has presented the Kurds of Iraq with both a historic opportunity and a familiar risk. A fractured parliament in Baghdad has made their unified bloc an indispensable partner, giving them the power to demand lasting agreements on the budget, oil, and autonomy that could finally stabilize their future. But the other side of that opportunity is the persistent threat of their own history. The deep-seated rivalry between the KDP and the PUK threatens to turn this moment of maximum leverage into another chapter of missed chances. The choice they face is stark: unite and impose a new reality on Baghdad, or let their divisions be exploited, continuing the cycle of crisis and uncertainty. The next Iraqi government will be born out of these high-stakes negotiations in Erbil, whether that government is a strong one, capable of leading the country towards stability, or a weak one, built on fragile compromises, will depend on one thing: whether the Kurds can finally overcome their past to seize the future.
This delicate dance of diplomacy and division is reshaping the Middle East in real time. If you want to understand the forces driving geopolitics in this critical region, make sure you subscribe and hit the bell icon to stay updated on our analyses.